Namaste, everyone, and a very warm welcome to all our Technical Teacher Certificate trainees. I am absolutely thrilled to have this batch here with us today for this explainer session. You know, as future technical educators, you aren't just going to be teaching machines or circuits or software. You're teaching human beings. And to do that effectively, we really need a masterclass in developmental psychology. So today, we're transforming this session into a truly experiential look at human development. We are going to build a complete picture of the student, quite literally from the inside out.
Let's quickly review today's syllabus for the batch. 1. Decoding human development. 2. Piaget, how students think. 3. Erikson, social identity formation. 4. Kohlberg, developing moral reasoning. 5. Chomsky, the language instinct. And finally, 6. Practical classroom applications. This right here is our complete holistic student arc. Section 1. Decoding human development, building the whole learner. Let's move into this and see how it builds. We have to remember that our students absolutely do not leave their personal development outside the classroom door. To manage your future classrooms and workshops effectively, you first have to understand these 5 foundational pillars of growth. Human development isn't just about getting taller or older, right? It spans cognitive, emotional, social, moral, and linguistic growth, starting right from birth. So when a student struggles to grasp a concept in your practical lab, the root cause can actually be tied to any one of these interconnected domains.
Section 2. Piaget. How students think, constructing understanding. Okay, let's dive into this. I want you to ask yourselves, how do you think your first-year diploma students actually process technical information? Do they just passively absorb what you write on the whiteboard? No way. Something much more active is happening inside their minds. Jean Piaget, a brilliant Swiss psychologist, revolutionized our understanding by proving that children and young adults actively construct knowledge. They use what he called schemas, which are basically mental frameworks to organize information. Think of it like a giant mental filing cabinet. When you teach a new concept, a student will first try assimilation, just fitting this new technical info right into their existing files. But when the new knowledge contradicts what they already know, well, then they have to use accommodation, actually modifying those existing schemas. This internal drive to resolve that cognitive conflict and achieve a mental balance is called equilibration. Now, what's really interesting about this is the universal sequential shift mapped out across Piaget's 4 stages. We start with the sensory motor stage in infants, where learning is purely physical, and they finally achieve object permanence. Then comes the pre-operational stage. Symbolic thinking begins here, but logic is kind of lacking. Next, at the concrete operational stage, logical thinking emerges, but it's strictly tied to physical objects. They finally master concepts like conservation and reversibility. And finally, we reach the formal operational stage, which kicks in from 12 years onwards. Now, this is absolutely crucial for you as technical teachers. This is where abstract and hypothetical reasoning develops. Your diploma students are exercising this exact stage when they're debugging code or troubleshooting an electrical circuit without actually seeing the physical current. Section 3. Erikson. Social identity formation. Navigating psychosocial crises. Having mapped out the cognitive side, we really must transition to emotional and social development. Enter Erik Erikson. He was a developmental psychologist who expanded on psychoanalytic theory, but placed a far greater and honestly much needed emphasis on social and cultural influences, rather than just purely biological drives. Unlike others who kind of stopped at childhood, Erikson believed development continues throughout our entire lives. At every single stage, individuals face a central psychosocial crisis. It's basically a conflict between 2 opposing tendencies that has to be resolved for healthy development. From trust versus mistrust in infancy, all the way to intimacy versus isolation in young adulthood. Successfully navigating each of these crises strengthens the ego and builds a really coherent sense of identity. So, the crucial point is how this translates directly to your practical labs. Look at stages 4 and 5. During the industry versus inferiority stage, children desperately need to develop a sense of competence. As a teacher, your encouragement and the meaningful challenges you set foster this industry. But be careful because excessive criticism breeds deep inferiority. Then, during adolescence, which is exactly when you'll likely be teaching them, they hit the identity versus role confusion stage. This perfectly explains why your teenage students are constantly exploring different roles, values, and beliefs in your classroom. You aren't just teaching them technical skills, you are actively helping them form their very identity.
Section 4. Kohlberg, developing moral reasoning, judging right from wrong.
Consider this for a moment. How exactly do your students develop a sense of fairness, justice, and respect for the rules in your classroom? Well, Lawrence Kohlberg built upon Piaget's work to propose a comprehensive theory on exactly this. He tested his theory using famous thought experiments, most notably the Heinz dilemma. I want the batch to really think about this one. A man's wife is dying, and he cannot afford the medicine that will save her. The pharmacist flat out refuses to lower the price. Should the man steal the medicine? Now, in Kohlberg's research, he actually didn't care whether the person said yes or no. Actually, let me rephrase that. He cared entirely about why the decision was made. It's the moral reasoning behind the action that reveals a person's developmental stage. And this brilliantly illustrates the progression of that reasoning across 3 distinct levels. At level 1, pre-conventional morality, decisions are entirely based on avoiding punishment or just serving self-interest. Will I get caught? At level 2, conventional morality, the focus shifts to social conformity and upholding authority. It's against the rules, so it's wrong. Finally, level 3, post-conventional morality, which requires some serious abstract reasoning. Here, rules are seen more as social contracts, and morality is guided by universal ethical principles of justice and human dignity, even if they conflict with written laws. Understanding where your students are on this continuum is an absolute game changer for how you manage classroom behavior.
Section 5. Chomsky, the language instinct, innate capacity for communication.
We transition now to our final developmental module, linguistics. Communication is literally the bedrock of any successful classroom transaction. But how do students acquire this remarkable ability to perceive syntax and communicate complex thoughts? Before we look at Noam Chomsky's groundbreaking work, just trace these rapid, incredible milestones of early language. From babbling at 6 months, to the first words around 1 year, to a sudden language explosion at 18 months, resulting in telegraphic speech. By the time a child is just 5 years old, complex sentences emerge, and they've internalized intricate grammar rules, all without any formal instruction from a teacher. It's nothing short of miraculous. To explain this miracle, Chomsky heavily challenged the behaviorist idea that language is learned purely through imitation. He proposed that we are actually born with a language acquisition device, or LAD. It's an innate biological capacity for language. He argued for universal grammar, the idea that all human languages share a common underlying structure. But his most powerful argument is the poverty of the stimulus. Simply put, the language young children hear around them is often incomplete or grammatically messy, right? Yet, they consistently produce complex, rule-governed sentences they have literally never heard before. They are fundamentally wired to learn language.
Section 6. Practical classroom applications. Synthesizing the theories.
We've covered immense ground today in our masterclass, but as future educators, the most important question is, how does all this developmental theory apply in your daily classroom transactions? Let's synthesize these masterworks into actionable takeaways. From Piaget, we learn the absolute necessity of child-centered, discovery-based learning. You have to match your instruction to their cognitive level. Let them touch the equipment, let them physically construct the knowledge. From Erickson, we understand our duty to support identity and competence. Your classroom has to be a safe space to fail and try again without feeling inferior. From Kohlberg, we realize the incredible power of dilemma discussions. Don't just punish bad behavior, discuss the ethics behind it to elevate their moral reasoning. And from Chomsky, we see the need to create rich language environments that activate their innate capacities to communicate technical ideas clearly.
As we wrap up this explainer session, I want to leave you with a provocative challenge. The next time you step into a workshop or stand at the front of a lab, remember, you are not just delivering a technical lecture. You are guiding cognitive growth, you're nurturing social identity, you are modeling moral reasoning, and you're facilitating language. So, how will you use these 4 frameworks to transform your next practical lab into a truly holistic learning experience? Thank you so much, Batch, for your wonderful attention today. Take these insights, apply them, and go empower your future students.